Thank you very much for joining me in today's discussion. With me today, we discuss gossip. What is gossip all about? I have with me Raphael Brown and Lawrence Adu-Devi. Brothers, you are welcome.
Thank you.
To begin with you, Mr. Raphael, what is the whole idea of gossip?
Gossip, my brother, I think it is, first of all, privileged, unconfirmed information about a person which is being broadcast or told to another person who has no business of knowing about it. Now, this information may be good or may be bad, but it's still gossip because most of the time it has the intention of tarnishing the image of the person. And so basically, gossip is talking behind someone's back, talking about somebody without the person's confirmation or the person's approval. Yes, I think that is gossip.
Oh, okay. Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, I think I will take it up from where you left. Yeah, for me, I think in our world today, gossip has a new dimension, and it's usually about the weaknesses and the negatives of people. People tend to pay much attention to people's weaknesses, the scandals and the flaws of others, and in turn try to spread such information. I see gossip in three dimensions. First, the message being broadcast. Then, the permission, because before you can spread an information, you need the permission of the person or the individual involved. Then finally, the intention, what you intend to achieve, the goal for spreading such an information. So I think these are some of the factors or concepts of gossip.
Okay, so talking about the intentions, what do you think could cause gossip or could cause people to gossip about others?
Wow. In our world today, I think a lot of factors come into play. Now, even if you check our media space, everything is about money. So I think the first intention these days is money. People want to gain financial profit from everything they do. So in turn, they spread videos, and you know, these are media space. Everything you do now these days, you can fetch money from it. So this motivates people to always go out there and take information which sell. And so in turn, they try to gossip about people using the media space. So the main factor here is money. Then the second factor I would also say is maybe to pull him down, as we know in our system, PhD. When they realize someone is going high in life, they use this or this avenue to also bring such people down. So I think these are some of the factors in terms of intention.
Okay, Mr. Brown, you have anything to say about the cause?
Yes. As he said, the pulling down syndrome, I think that's one very strong factor as to why people gossip. We always want to rub other people's faces in the mud, and that's a strong reason why people decide to gossip. Another thing I think causes gossip is idleness, being idle. You know, we say Satan finds mischief for idle hands, and so once you're idle, you have nothing to do. You see somebody and you're like, okay, fine, let me talk about this person. Then you want to begin talking about the person, you start to garnish the stories, add things that are not even there. So idleness can cause gossiping to some extent. And also to talkativeness. Some people are talkatives. They always want to talk. And so if they talk and talk and talk and they are done talking, they cannot just be quiet. They want to add something to it. And so they'll start talking about people. When they talk about people, they feel like it's not enough. They're like, oh, let me just add a little spice to it. Oh, let me add some sugar. Let me add some salt. And they keep going on and on and on. And then they end up spreading lies about these people. So idleness, talkativeness, and then the PhD syndrome my brother had mentioned. Also, there could be some factors such as jealousy, being jealous of somebody, envy, dislike, hatred. All these things are reasons why people will decide to gossip. Yeah, I think so.
Talking about jealousy in Ghana, how do you hear people talk about people because of jealousy? Sometimes when I hate you, how do I talk about you? So how do you think because of hatred one could gossip about somebody?
Well, I think the actual thing is that when people hate you, when people are jealous of you, when they dislike you, they do not talk to you, but they talk about you. And so I do not like you. And so when I come to you, when I approach you, I'll smile with you and all that, but I'll go behind your back and then talk about you badly to other people. There's this song that used to trend back in the day. I say, "Oh, any man on your whistle, fair, I don't want no can listen. Yeah, hey, So that's how it is. When they meet you, they are very nice to you, or they may not even come to you at all. But behind your back, they are speaking ill of you. They are destroying, they are stabbing you in the back. That is why I said gossip is unconfirmed information, because you've not confirmed it. I mean, you're saying it without the person's permission, without the person's mandate. Yes, so I think when people hate you and they dislike you, they talk about you and not to you.
All right, thank you. But Lawrence, do you think people should busy themselves with gossip?
Absolutely no, because of the negative implications of gossip.
Okay.
Now, talking about the negative implications, first, on the aspects of the one who gossips, people tend to lose trust in you. When you are always going about discussing matters about people without the authority or permission, people tend to lose trust in you. And also, another factor which I think makes gossip bad or negative is productivity. When people tend to gossip, they spend any given opportunity gossiping. So people will go to their workplaces, people will go to where they are to work and get money, and they'll spend all the time talking about others. So it also brings low production. Yeah.
Thank you. Brother Brown, can you please add something to what he said?
Yes, I think that gossiping should not be entertained, and also it shouldn't be entertained because it demoralizes people. If someone is talked about, the person comes to hear of it, the person just, the person becomes down-spirited sometimes. It just kills the person's spirit, as we will say nowadays. It kills the person's vibe. The person becomes just demoralized. The person is able to, be confident as the person used to be. And also, gossip, it breeds tension, unnecessary tension, because if I have gossiped about you, when I see you, I'm wondering, has he heard what I said? And so there's this tension between you and the person. You're not able to feel free around the person. And in the long run, it will end up ruining the friendship or the bond you had with that person.
Well, Mr. Brown, do you think positive gossip boosts the morale of people?
Okay, first of all, there's nothing like positive gossip. The content may be something positive or something good, but the act of gossiping itself is negative because it breaks trust. And now, as to whether it increases the morale of people, well, I don't think it will do so, because first of all, you have broken my trust. Okay, you have broken my trust, and so, I mean, what's there to rejoice about? You have broken my trust. I feel hurt. But to some extent, there could be some positive things about it, in the sense that you could see it in a way that, oh, okay, they deem me important to talk about me. Okay, they think I'm worthy of their conversation, of their time. And so you're like, okay, fine. But I think that is more of pride. I don't think it's something that should be entertained, because gossip in itself is negative. And so I don't think we should try to see something good about it. No, because it will end us up in pride. Yes.
Now, Mr. Lawrence, is it necessary for the victims to respond to gossip?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll say no. Why am I saying this? First, when you realize that what is being talked about, or what people are saying about you, or gossiping about you, is positive, you just have to ignore them. But by ignoring them too, you become more careful with them. Because there's an adage, Saboni nyao, nase on kawa, on central. Do you get it? Yeah. So when you realize people tend to gossip about you, even though it's positive, you have to be extra careful. You have to check and be cautious as to how you relay information to them. And on the other side, if it's negative, you have to be honest with yourself. As Socrates rightly said, an unexamined life is not what? Worth living. So if you realize what they are saying about you is true, and that you are engaging in some bad things, then you have to work on yourself. Do you get it? So it depends on how it happens, and you have to reason through and see how best you can respond to gossip.
Okay. Mr. Brown, responding to gossip, we talk about the measures. So what are some of the measures that can be put in place to check or stop gossip?
Okay. First
Let's look at it from the angle of the victims.
The angle of the victims.
Yeah. What measures can be put in place to prevent people from gossiping about you?
You know, there's something we say in Akan. And Lawrence, I don't know if you can help me with this. We say, my encanto so. Exactly. Let them say, but don't let it be true. Don't prove to them that it is true. Okay. You cannot stop it from gossiping about you. People will always gossip about you. You cannot stop them. The only thing you can do is that don't give them something to talk about. Even, no matter what you do, they'll talk about you. If you crawl, they'll talk about you. If you fly, they'll talk about you. Even if you cut off your heads for them, they'll talk about you. And so the only thing is, just make sure you have an informed conscience. Live a good moral life. And whether they talk about you or not, leave it to God. But you cannot stop people from talking about you. That you cannot do. The only thing you can do is that don't give them something to say.
Oh, okay. Now, Sir Lawrence, what are those gossiping?
Wow. The person who gossips.
Yeah, the person who gossips.
Wow. I think there are some factors which I may say could help people stop gossiping. First, you have to examine yourself. Man, you should know thyself. Once you always get time to reflect about the things you do, the implications, I think you are always ready to do away with certain habits. So if you really examine your life day in, day out, you always find ways and means to avoid gossiping about others. And again, I also think you have to also do away with people who gossip. As they will say, gossip mongers. Yeah. If the environment you live or you are happens to be in the midst of people who always gossip, either you withdraw or you get them out of your life. Because once they are always around, you may be tempted to always join them in gossiping. And also, I think when it comes to gossiping, sometimes you can try and defend the victims. When an issue is brought on board and it's about gossiping about others, when you try to defend the people, eventually those who gossip with you will go away. They always know that you are not interested in their conversations. So I also think that also would help. And finally, I think as Christians, as youth, as Catholics, as students, and even generals, we must all have a horarium, an hourly schedule or daily plan. So not just have it, but you must stick to them. So that at every point in time, you must get yourself occupied with something beneficial, either to learn skills, to read books, to listen to music, anything beneficial. So when you are occupied, I think it will reduce the level of, or the time spent gossiping. And we must know as Christians, even in everything we do, love must be the basis. So in all these factors I have mentioned, if you truly love your neighbor, you wouldn't go about gossiping about them. When you realize they are having problems, when you realize their weaknesses, the best thing is to help them recover or to pray for them. Okay,
Mr. Brown, let me ask this question. Is it possible that people unconsciously gossip about others?
Well, we have made it clear that gossip is a conversation between people talking about somebody, and talking is a conscious act. You cannot say you're consciously talking, well, except you're sleep talking. But even that one, your subconscious mind is at work there. And so once talking or discussing with or conversing with someone is a conscious act, gossiping cannot be unconscious. And so when you're talking about somebody, you know the person is not present, and you're talking about that person. And so I think it is not an unconscious act, it is very conscious. But what we can do to add to what my brother was talking about is what Pope Francis said. You know, he told a joke some time ago. He said, when you want to gossip, you know, when you are about to gossip, or even when you are in the act of gossiping and you want to stop, what you should do is bite your tongue. Bite your tongue so hard till it hurts. And he said by that, your tongue will get swollen and you cannot keep talking. You know, he just said that in passing. But in effect, all he's trying to say is that gossiping should be avoided. We don't need to talk about other people because it is not an unconscious act. It is very, very conscious. Yes, it's a very conscious act.
There are points in time that someone will just ask you a question. Where is that going? Unconscious, you say, oh, that is Asimesi's daughter or son, and then you might add certain things. How do you reconcile this with the unconscious aspect of people gossiping?
You know, your personality is public knowledge. Okay, so who is that person? I want to take it from the example you gave.
Right.
Who is that person? That person is Kofi's son. That person is Ahmed's son. You know, this is something that is not hidden because at your questioning, at your naming ceremony, people were there and it was announced to us. You live in the society. You live among us. So this is public knowledge. But to add certain things that are not supposed to be known, that is when you begin to gossip. So for instance, you ask me, I'm like, oh, that is George's son. Oh, do you know that I heard he failed his wasi? Do you need to say that? This is not something you're supposed to be talking about. Oh, do you know he got that girl? I mean, you shouldn't be saying these things. These things are not things you're supposed to be saying because they are not public knowledge. They are things that you are privileged to know. As I said earlier in the definition, privileged, unconfirmed information. You are just privileged to know this information. So it's not something you should go about broadcasting. Yes.
So, Brother Lawrence, what do you make of current trend of people glorifying gossip on social media?
Well, it's unfortunate these days. A lot of things are happening on our media space. People now are interested in the business aspect of social media. So, as you said, people glorify gossip. Some thinking it's a form of making money, some to make draws of people, and many others. But I think we, the viewers, have the power over these things. If we tend to forgo these, so to say, funny channels and focus on the positive ones, which tend to build us as a society, I think we can do away with these things. Channels or websites with positive content, positive in the sense of not engaging in gossip, usually tend to have few subscribers. People are interested in fake news, sensationalism, and things that will make them happy. But I think as Christians, we always have to judge situations based on our moral conscience. We have to analyze the contents they present to us and see if they conform to our rule of faith. So if we realize some of these contents tend to downgrade and gossip about people, we have to find a way to move away from them. It's also our responsibility to verify some of this information. We don't just share information as we receive them. We make sure we find out whether there is some iota of truth in it. And I think when we walk on this path, it will help to curb this gossip on our media space.
Okay, thank you. Brother Lawrence, please, you add a final word or a final words.
My final words. gossip kills. On the part of the one who gossips, spiritually. On the part of the victim, emotionally. Spiritually, because the 8th commandment states, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Therefore, the more you gossip, the more you sin. On the part of the victim, emotionally, because sometimes some are not able to handle situations like this. Therefore, as a Christian, be charitable to your neighbor. At worst, you can help the person recover from his or her weaknesses instead of gossiping about them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Raphael, your last comment.
My last words are both for the gossiper and what I term gossipee, the person who listens to the gossip. On the part of the gossipee, I'll say that he should bear in mind the words of Psalm 1 verse 1, that blessed is the man who does not take the counsel of the wicked, stand, walk, or sit in their company. And on the part of the one doing the gossip, he should bear in mind that, as Jesus told us, we should take out the logs in our eyes before we can see clearly, to take out the specks in our brother's eyes. Because gossip sometimes comes with the notion of judgment. Also, as our former president would say, the late Professor John Mills, we should mind our own business. We shouldn't go about talking about other people. And then finally, let us always ask ourselves, who gossips about the gossiper? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We come to the end of our discussion. Let me thank you, my brothers, for your time, and let me thank you, our audience and our viewers. We will ask you to subscribe to our channel, share it, and like it. Thank you, and God bless you.